She stood frozen, hands trembling, staring at the check left on the table, $50,000. No note, no explanation. Just her name spelt perfectly, and a signature she didn't recognize. Just hours earlier she had been crying alone at her mother's grave. Now a stranger had changed her life in a way she couldn't comprehend. But behind the money was a truth more powerful than dollars. Someone had seen her, really saw her. This is the story of what happened when a grieving waitress met a billionaire who walked into the wrong diner at precisely the right time. If this story moved you, like and comment on your city. Every Sunday morning before her shift, Leela James visited the same weathered gravestone. The marble had faded, but the engraved name Clara J. etched in her heart. Clara had been everything: mother, best friend, and the only person who made their tiny apartment feel like home. Since her passing, life had been a quiet grind. Lila worked long hours at T.E. Clover Diner, a place with cracked leather booths, greasy counters, and regulars who barely tipped. Despite the hardship, Lila kept going. She smiled through 12-hour shifts, memorized orders, and pretended the world didn't look down on her for the color of her skin or the tears she wiped away in the walk-in freezer. The diner was her whole life now. She took pride in the little things: fresh coffee, warm pie, and remembering the birthdays of lonely customers. Most of the staff didn't notice her pain, and the customers certainly didn't. To them, she was just the black waitress with neat handwriting and tie-dye she blended in on purpose. It was safer that way, but there was something different about that Sunday. The sky had turned a strange, moody gray, and her usually calm routine felt off. Lila lingered longer at her mother, whispering or prayer for strength. She didn't know why, but her hands trembled as she wiped her eyes and stood up to leave. She didn't know it yet, but by the end of her shift, her entire life would be turned upside down by a man who had never stepped foot into that diner before, someone who would see her pain, her value, and the injustice that had followed her for years. The lunch rush came like a storm. Orders piled in, customers barked. The manager, always stressed and short-tempered, threw a tantrum over a missing ketchup bottle. Leela moved like a ghost in the chaos scene but barely acknowledged. At table 7 sat a family who came in often. The father always made off jokes about her reprising intelligence and light attitude if those things weren't expected. Today was no different. When she brought their check, he chuckled. "Why you ever think about doing something more, ambitious?" He added under his breath, "Oh, is this already the dream for you folks?" Isla forced a smile, heart sinking. She didn't have the energy to fight ignorance disguised as charm. But something shifted when the bell above the door jingled, and a tall man in a crisp charcoal suit walked in. Everyone looked up. He didn't belong here, too polished, too clean. He sat alone at the back booth, scanning the menu like he hadn't eaten dinner food in years. Leela approached, notebook in hand. "Just coffee for now," he said, not looking up. She noticed his gold watch, the sleek leather bag by his side, and a tired way he rubbed his temples. Another overworked executive, she thought. Just passed through, like all the others. But as she poured the coffee, he glanced at her name tag. "LIE said, NCE to meet you." It was different but straightforward. No sarcasm, no assumptions. She smiled genuinely for the first time that day as she served other tables. She noticed the man watching quietly, not in a creepy way, but observant. And then, disaster struck. In table 4, a pair of wealthy-looking women snapped their fingers and demanded faster service. One of them roared, "Why do they even hire people who can't keep up?" "She looks half asleep." Isla rushed over, apologizing. She was met with a roll of the eyes and a muttered, "Tea pickle." The man in the back booth heard it. His expression shifted. He watched her retreat with shaking hands, then stood frozen behind the counter, eyes glossy. Later, when Leela took him his bill, he looked her in the eye. "Aroek day." He hesitated, then nodded, barely popal. "Into you what? The therioing to you." "But I do." Isla blinked, unsure what to say. Then he pulled out his wallet, not just to pay, but to leave something behind that would change everything. As Leela cleared the table, she saw the man had left a quiet exit without fanfare, but something on the table caught her eye. The receipt folder. Inside it was a check. Her breath caught. She looked again. It wasn't a tip, it was a check for $50,000, made out to her name. Pinned to it was a simple note. "I grew up with a mother like yours. I see your fight. Let me help you get where you want to be. This is just the start." Ears welled in her eyes as the room seemed to close in around her. Her knees buckled slightly, and she gripped the table to stay upright. Who was this man? The manager stormed over, demanding she stop. "Die you on break. Then get moving," he barked. She looked at him, really looked. The way he dismissed her, the way everyone always had. And for the first time she didn't feel powerless. She held the check tightly in her hand, eyes still wet but voice steady. "I'm coming back tomorrow." He laughed, thinking she was joking. "Why, good luck finding better." He didn't test panned. She didn't need to. In the parking lot, she sat in her beat-up car, heart pounding. The check trembled in her hands. This wasn't enough money, it was freedom. If this new story theme has your attention, please click the like button to keep the stories flowing. Lila didn't wash the check right away. She waited, researched, found out who Diaz Dorian Kessler Billionaire CEO of a global media company, known for philanthropy but elusive in public life. He had ever been in that diner before and likely never would be again, but she remembered what he said. People owe donates. What they're owing to you. But I do. With that money, Leela left the diner and enrolled in a social justice journalism program. She had always loved to write. Her mother used to say her words could heal wounds. Now she was using them to uncover stories like hers, amplifying voices that had been ignored for too long. That wasn't about revenge. It was about truth, healing, progress. 1 year later, her first article went viral. A waitress taught me about racism in plain sight. He didn't tame the diner or the man who changed her life, but she told the world about small cruelty that wear people down and the one moment of kindness that reminded her she mattered. This wasn't her story. It was a story shared by millions, a tale of endurance, injustice, and unexpected redemption. And now she had the power to tell it. So ask yourself, how many lives go unnoticed, unheard, unvalued every single day? And how many would change if just one person truly saw them? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories and fresh videos.